Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So glad to have you back. I want to preface this week's video by saying this. Please understand, I am not meaning to offend anyone in this week's video. But I've got some hard truths for you today because we're going to talk about the problem with female country artists. A healthy dose of truth, opinion, and advice is coming up next.
Gather up, you weary souls. Show 'em you ain't dead. Tell 'em no, you ain't coming home. Woo, rise. Woo, rise. Woo,
Hey guys, hope your week is going awesome. I know mine is busy. We're still in the process of getting everything ready to move to the new house. I know that's been a thing I've been talking about in the last couple of videos, but truthful, it's a stressful process. It's a long process, but we were just talking about it last night, thinking that exactly 30 days from now, we will be in the new house, and I'm looking forward to it. And so I apologize if my upload schedule hasn't been as normal. I've not been doing every Tuesday and Thursday, but that's the only reason why, is we're starting to tear things down, and it's just been a stressful period. So I haven't had a lot of time to sit down with you guys, but that's going to be changing as well. So thank you for sticking with me during this process of moving and selling and buying and all this other stuff, and trying to get life back to normal as possible. Guys, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. All you have to do is hit that little subscription button, but also make sure you hit the bell notification next to it so that you're notified every time I upload new content. And as always, you can follow me across social media. It's at the Steve Freeman on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and everywhere else. Like I said at the beginning, the goal of today's video is to not hurt anybody or offend anybody, but I want to put some truths out there. Today, we're talking about the problem with female country artists. Is there a problem? I think so. Over the last couple of years, there's been this thing going around Nashville and around the country as well, where a lot of the female country artists are starting to get really upset that they aren't better represented within the format. Radio doesn't play a lot of female country artists, and you don't see a lot of them out on tour. And there's just been this culture that's been brought to the forefront that females are thought of as lesser in this format. There was, I guess it was a couple of years ago now, there was a radio consultant that put out this blog post or memoir, whatever it is you want to call it. But he talked about the country music salad and how the male artists were the lettuce and the main ingredients, and that female artists were just like the tomatoes on top of the salad. Well, as you can imagine, that frustrated a lot of female country artists, and there was a huge backlash against that consultant. And maybe there should be, but I also think that it should be said, I have a little bit of a different take on this, that maybe he's just pointing the finger at and shining the light on the truth. If you go back historically in country music, female artists, you need to understand the problem that you're having right now and what you're going through is nothing new. Historically, the country format has always been a largely male-driven format. If you go back in any time over history, you will find that in any one particular time period, that female artists at best represent about 10% of the overall format. You know, when you go back and you think about male artists, you can point to hundreds of them. But when you think about female country artists, there have really only been a handful of what we would all, I guess, say or consider to be ultra successful. And I know I'm probably going to miss some here, but you've got Reba McEntire, Dolly Parton, you've got Loretta Lynn, you've got Patsy Cline. And moving into the more modern era, as far as superstars, you could say Taylor Swift, although Taylor hasn't been country in about 6 years. You could point to Miranda Lambert, you could point to maybe Kelsey Ballerini, and maybe Maren Morris. But even still today, they only represent about 10% of the format. If you look at the Billboard Top 20 country charts right now, there is only one female artist in the top 20. Now, you've got some females that are a part of groups or that are doing songs like BB Rexa did the song with Florida Georgia Line. It's currently number 1. And you've got Little Big Town in there, which has 2 females in the band. And then you've got Sugarland, half of which, Jennifer Nettles, is a female. If you look at solely female country acts, there's only 1 in the top 20, and that's Carrie Underwood. You know, going back over time as well, it's traditionally been hard for female country artists to have self-sustaining, very successful tours and hit that superstar status like many of the male artists have, many of their counterparts have. And there's a reason for that. And this is what I want you, if you're a female artist out there and you're watching this, please pay very close attention, because I know the reason why that you're having the problems that you're having. And I also think I have some solutions on how to fix it. But let's start with the biggest problem. I wish that you would stop blaming radio and stop blaming the industry for there not being enough females represented in the format. Why? Because yes, mark this down, because I don't say this very often. I am often totally against the industry whatsoever. But in this case, this is not the industry's fault, okay? Look at the numbers. Country music has always been a male-driven format as far as the artists. But ladies, listen up. Women buy a majority of the records, and women buy a majority of the concert tickets. Yes, it is a male-driven format as far as the artists are concerned, but the fan base and the demographic of country music is all women, for the most part. So I understand where you want to blame the industry for not putting enough female artists out or not supporting enough female artists. But I have to say, in this case, the industry is only supplying the demand. It may be a hard truth to face, but it is a truth. Women buy the records and women buy concert tickets. And ladies, here's another one of the problems, okay? And I think if you sit back and you really think about this, you'll understand that this is a key to the problem. Women, in large amounts and by majority, do not support other women. Women feel threatened by other women. And the numbers prove this out. Successful women tend to threaten other women. There's not this sense of community that you see when you guys post on Facebook or social media about supporting your girl and girl power and all this. Yes, I think within the artist community, female artists are trying to do a better job of supporting each other. But that is not translating down to the fan base. Fact of the matter is women are buying the records and women are buying the concert tickets. And women don't want to buy another woman's record. And they don't buy concert tickets to see women in concert. Now, you can point to a couple examples. You can point to Carrie Underwood and say, yes, Carrie Underwood sells a lot of records, and Carrie Underwood sells out her tours. But who else? If you look at those numbers carefully, you'll see that I'm actually 100% correct in that at any given moment, about 10% of the success in the format is allocated directly to females. And it's been that way for years and years and years. So is it a problem? It's absolutely a problem. There should be more successful female country artists. Is there enough talent out there in the pool to make up that difference? Absolutely. I have the pleasure of working with some of the most talented female artists in country music. I'm blown away by their vocal ability, their writing ability. I write with them, I produce them, I work with them in the studio. I'm telling you, there is plenty of talent out there. But the problem is not the industry. We've got to stop blaming the industry, and we've got to start shifting and putting some of that blame on the fan base. They are not buying your records, and they are not buying concert tickets. And those fans are predominantly women. Several years ago, country music underwent a major demographic change. And the fan base of country music that supported the artist within the format used to be what we called 25-54. That's ages 25 to 54. And within that demographic, it was still largely a female-driven fan base. But now, since we've had Taylor Swift and the country format has started to chase the pop dollar, which means chasing a younger audience, you now have a younger demographic, and they are called centennials. Now, I'm going to flash up some graphs and flash up some numbers because I don't want any of you guys to think that I'm just pulling these numbers out of thin air and I have absolutely no basis for what I'm talking about. These numbers come from the Country Music Association, the CMA. Centennials are defined as persons age 12 to 17. Now, whether you like it or not, that is your fan base. And as I've said before, I define a fan as somebody that supports the artist, whether that be buying or streaming their music, buying the album or the EP, purchasing concert tickets. I describe a fan as somebody that financially supports the artist that they say they're a fan of. That to me is a true fan. Liking somebody on Facebook or liking something on Instagram, that means nothing. A fan is somebody that supports the artist in every way possible. Buying a record, buying a concert ticket, buying a t-shirt, something that helps that artist become financially viable and able to sustain their career and move it forward. However, as we look at these numbers that are provided by the CMA, within this demographic of the centennials, 12 to 17, you see that 41% of them are females. They outnumber the males in that demographic almost 2 to 1. So if you're sitting around and you're wondering, if you're sitting around and you're frustrated and you're wondering why there aren't more successful female country artists, it's because the industry is only supplying a demand. If there were a demand among the fan base and among those centennials that are driving the sales in this format and every other format, by the way, you would see more labels sign and promote and financially invest in female country artists. As frustrating as it might be, and is it right? It's absolutely not right. But when you strip everything away and you look at it at the bare bones for what it really is and what it really means, is that your core fan base it has a 41% chance more likelihood of being 12 to 17 years old. And those females in that demographic are supporting the male artists. Going back to something that I said earlier, there is a problem, but I think the problem is a disconnect between female country artists and female fans. Like I said before, you can like the fact that I'm saying this or you can not like the fact that I'm saying it, but just because you don't like it doesn't mean that it's not true. Most of the time, women do not support other women. They feel threatened, or the fact that they are beautiful, or they have a perfect body, or they have all that. They don't feel that on a large majority that the female artist represents them. So they go to the male artists. We could say a lot of things, but the fact of the matter is just that. Females do not typically tend to support other females. They do support male artists. I know many of you are out there and I know many of you are frustrated. It is very frustrating, but I would like to see you get to the point where you stop talking about it and you stop blaming the industry and you stop blaming radio and you stop blaming. I saw the other day where Bobby Bones is setting up a new network that's going to feature all female artists. Well, that's fantastic. That's great for him to do. But the numbers show out and they prove that females, the fans, are not going to listen to it because they would rather hear male artists and they would rather support male artists than they had female artists. I'm glad to see that the industry is trying to make a switch and trying to make a move and trying to grow more successful female artists within the format. But here's the problem. You can try all day long, but at the end of the day, the industry will do what it has always done, and that is it will supply the demand that exists. So I think the most important conversation that we need to be having within the industry is not with the industry itself, but it's with the fan base. We need to communicate better with female country fans and encourage them to support more female country artists. The more support they show, the more the industry will supply the demand. And if we can create a demand for more female country artists within the format, and the female fans in the format show that they will support those female artists, the industry will do what it always does, like I said. They love making money. They're up for making money on anything. That's why they exist, to make money. If they think that signing and promoting and putting out more female country artists will make them more money, I promise you they'll be doing it by 5 o'clock this afternoon. So is there a conversation that needs to take place? Absolutely. But that conversation needs to take place between you and the fan base. What you need to do is somehow have that conversation and invite and make female fans feel more comfortable. How do you do that? I've got some ideas, and I can promise you that most of you aren't going to like them, but I'm going to talk about them right now. Number one, my advice to new female country artists: please stop trying to be the next Taylor Swift or the next Kelsey Ballerini or the next Maren Morris. Find your uniqueness. Be the next you. I can't tell you the number of times I'm on social media and I will see posts from, let's say, 10 new female artists. I can't tell any of you apart. You all look exactly the same. You sound exactly the same. You're all going into the studio and you are cutting a different version of the same song, trying to sound like something that's already successful. Ladies, we already have a Carrie Underwood. We already have a Maren Morris. We already have a Cassidy Pope. We already have those artists. Stop trying to think that the more like those successful female artists you can be, the more you're going to be accepted or the more people want to see you. That's just simply not true. What is it about you that is unique? Are you having that conversation with your female fans? What do they want to see? The numbers prove, and if you look at the successful female artists that are out there, each one of them offers a little something different. So I encourage you, stop spending your time and your passion and your financial resources and your reach with social media trying to convince potential fans that you are just like this other artist. Be yourself. Be you. Do you better than anybody else. And I promise you, you have a much better chance of succeeding than trying to just be a knockoff or a copycat of something else. You know, sometimes that philosophy works. Well, if you like Kelsey Ballerini, then you're going to love this, or you're going to love me, or you're going to like what I do. But we're entering a time that is so different than any other time that we've ever experienced in the entertainment business. And that is that people have access to content 24/7. There is no shortage of artists. There is no shortage of content. So be different. Be unique. Nobody ever stood out by fitting in. And that's my advice to you today, is to seriously take a look at yourself and sit down and think, how can I be unique? How can I be different? How can I stand out so that I'm not just in this sea of copycat female country artists in Nashville? And like I said, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm not trying to be mean. And I'm certainly not trying to depress anybody. But I'm serious, guys. You take a look out around Nashville and I could throw a rock and hit 35 of the same thing. They're looking the same, they're acting the same, they're singing the same songs, and you're all trying to replicate something that has already happened. Look for what hasn't happened yet. Find what makes you unique and bring those two things together. You pair that with having a serious, honest, and open conversation with your fan base, and I think you'll be on the right track. So just to recap, guys, you have to understand, women buy the records and women buy concert tickets. After that, you have to also understand and admit to yourself that women don't often support other women. Now, maybe we should find out why that is. Maybe we should try to put our finger on that problem, because this is not an industry problem. This is a relationship problem. It is a problem with the relationship between female country artists and female fans. There is a reason that female fans don't buy female country artist records and they don't support them in concert. If you don't think I'm right, take a look over. There are very few female country artists who can have a successful solo tour without having to partner with another popular male artist to sell those tickets. It's because women buy the tickets, women buy the albums, women are the supporting factor behind the country music format. That's the conversation we need to have. That is what you need to realize. Why is that? If you can figure that out for yourself in your career, you're going to be miles ahead of anyone else. Seriously, sit down and think about it. If women are the one buying music and they're the one buying concert tickets and they are creating a demand, why aren't they creating a demand for more female country artists? Because like I said, if the demand were there, every record label in Nashville would be signing every young female country artist they could get their hands on. But the demand isn't there. And it is a female-driven fan base for country music. That's the problem we need to solve. Like I said at the beginning, this has nothing to do with talent, because there are so many of you young female country artists out there. You have so much to offer the format. You have so much to say, especially in this day and time with things that are going on like the Me Too movement and everything else. Now is the time. There needs to be more female country artists in the format. There needs to be more successful female artists in the format, and the formats need to open up to allow it. But we have to understand that the industry is only going to supply the demand. And if a fan base that is controlled by women and controlled by females is not creating a demand for female country artists, then there is a disconnect and there's a problem. And before we blame the industry, or before we blame radio, or before we blame anybody else, that's the problem we need to solve. So your problem shouldn't be with the industry, girls. Your problem should be with the fan base. I hope it's a problem that we can get solved, because there are so many of you out there that deserve a shot and deserve a chance and deserve for your talent and your art to be showcased on the big stage. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in this week to another video, and I'm hoping that you're having a great week. I hope you go on and have a great rest of the week. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. All you have to do is hit the little subscription button, but make sure you hit the bell notification next to it so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. And of course, follow me across social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and everywhere else. It's at the Steve Freeman. Guys, until next time, keep being creative, keep pressing the boundaries, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. See you next time.